Aloha mai kako, and welcome to Inspired by Aloha, a podcast dedicated to making your day a little brighter by showcasing that inspirational people and acts of aloha surround us every day. My name is Shireen.
And I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy.
And we're so grateful that you've chosen to spend a few minutes with us as we get ready to be
Inspired by Aloha.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome back to Inspired by Aloha. I'm so excited today because we have friends from Hawaii Island with us. We have Vanessa and Devin from, well, they've got kind of like two businesses, Kilohana Honey and also Big Island Meadery. And I'm so excited to have the two of you with us to tell us your story and share with you about how you are inspired by Aloha and taking care of our ʻāina and our agriculture area and the community and all the people that you know and all the people that you're helping on Hawaii Island. It's just really, really inspiring. So yay! Welcome! Vanessa and Devin. That's our studio audience. I'm so excited. Yeah, welcome. So tell us your story. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for the intro, you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. This is Vanessa, and I'm here with Devin. We began as home gardeners back in 2010. And at the time, we were wondering what the heck was happening. There were no pollinators. We had to do everything by hand. And so we reached out to those in the bee community and found a mentor who told us that that was kind of the time when a couple of the major pests had found their way into Hawaii. So the bee industry as a whole was really hit hard by these pests. And so, yeah, there were like no bees out there pollinating anything. So, yeah, the varroa mite and the small hive beetle back in 2008, and then the beetle in 2010. So we kind of felt it was our kuleana to kind of get behind that and start raising bees. And now we just got to get back into gardening.
Oh, nice. Full circle.
But yeah, so the mead side kind of stemmed from that a few years after that. So it really was beekeeping that got us started.
And so tell us about, I mean, we should all know, but I think some of our listeners don't really realize the importance of bees and what a detriment to our agricultural businesses it is to not have pollination. Like, why is that so important?
Well, as Ness was saying, like we started out beekeeping because we didn't have pollination in our home garden. And you can imagine growing vegetables at home is one thing when you're just trying to supplement what you have on the table. And we were out there with paintbrushes and electric toothbrushes pollinating tomatoes and bell peppers because we weren't getting anything. And for an actual farmer that's really trying to, make ends meet by having a crop that requires pollination, that must have been pretty devastating to not have adequate pollination to actually get fruit set. Yeah. And so many trees like produce better quality and larger fruit that are heavier and of higher quality when they're optimally pollinated by bees. We don't have enough native pollinators to really do enough of it. So we do really have to rely on honeybees to do a lot of the pollination we require.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was, the numbers were kind of staggering. It was about half of the managed colonies were lost back when those pests were introduced, and just about all of the feral colonies. So as you can imagine, it was like a ghost town. There were like really few numbers as far as bees pollinating. So yeah, the industry has kind of bounced back since then because of the year-round growing conditions. And then everyone with bees in the neighborhood drastically sees how much more fruit set there is, and they're giving mangoes away and avocados. So it really is felt from the backyard little guys all the way up to the big farmers. So
wow. And I remember in those years there would be like news stories or like the Department of Ag saying, hey, we have a bee issue. And we're like, well, oh yeah, how come there's no bees? And my mom has like tons and tons of orchids, and in season they're all blossoming, and there would always be like right, all the little honeybees during season, and then she'd be like, yeah, no more bees now. You know, and
it was noticeable.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary. At that time, our family farm was done already, so we weren't farming, but yeah, you never realize how important that is. And then as a just a layperson, I'm like, oh, what do we do? Like, you know, like not thinking that you could make a difference.
So when did the bee industry start to turn around? And was it because of businesses like you folks that like that concerted effort? Is that what made the difference?
I would say as a whole, like the beekeeping community out here is really good about adapting to problems that come up. And everybody was trying to figure out a solution. And it's really weird. A lot of beekeepers that had varroa mite and small hive beetle here that hadn't seen them, they really didn't even see them in the hive. They would open them up and not really notice that the pests were there. Like varroa mite is very, very small. So a lot of beekeepers with poor vision would just not see them at all. But then with the hive beetles, you see this little, like it's like a quarter the size of a bee or even a fifth the size of a bee. And you'd see them run around, but they didn't really recognize the threat that these new introduced pests were until they started losing colonies to them. So, I mean, I'm sure all of them, as well as us and even the commercials, beekeepers started scouring the internet for like who has a solution to these problems. And there's a myriad of different products that can be used. We've used microfiber towels, there's oil traps, there's everybody implemented anything they could possibly get their hands on to try and fight the pests. Diatomaceous earth is another one. So everybody was just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks that actually would work on the pests.
Well, thank you for doing that for us. Seriously, right? Yeah. You know, because I mean, there's so many of us who are like, we just buy honey, you know, right?
You're right. So now are those pests eliminated or controlled? Or is it that you folks have the right process in place to keep them out?
It's a mix of integrated pest management techniques, more vigilance on the beekeeper's part, doing tests to see what your pest load is, whether you need to treat or not, and then just understanding the pest's life cycles. So yeah, we're just learning to live with them. There are, though, a couple of queen breeders. Because we are so isolated, it makes for great research for genetics. So they're actually creating a bee genetic line that is varroa sensitive. So the worker bees will actually smell varroa in the hive and dig them out and disrupt their reproductive life cycle. So that research has been maybe 10 to 15 years in the works. But yeah, so that genetic line is getting mixed with everything that we've got here. So things are looking up, but there's still, you know, you can't just leave a colony and collect honey once in a while. That way is gone. You got to be pretty vigilant about just about everything.
Wow. That sounds hard. Yeah, that sounds hard.
But it sounds like you love what you do. I mean, obviously, you both are so knowledgeable. You know, I myself and Amy had a chance to go and actually visit your beautiful farm. And what I noticed about it is everything was so intentional. And you both are, we've said this before, you both are lovable scientists. You know, you just, you could just tell that you just pour your heart into this. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, the Kilohana farms and that story and what you folks are doing and what you hope to do with that business?
Well, I think it kind of started off with us looking for a name. Like once we realized that we had a lot of honey, we started selling it to family or giving away first, but then like actually got to the point of having honey sales of extended friends of friends who wanted our honey as well. And so we're like, we probably should become a business. Like we had like our kitchen was full of 5-gallon buckets full of honey. Our
spare bedroom, yeah. Then the office supplies and everything.
We had tons of honey everywhere, and we're like, we need to do something with it. So we started selling it first, and then we played around with names. And Kilohana was a name that my family had used for a shave ice business when I was a kid in California. And so we took that same name and used it for our honey company as well.
And it means...
Oh, it means the very best.
Oh, that's nice.
That is cool. It is the best.
It is the best.
It is the best.
And then you also have Big Island Meadery. That's a sister company?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that came later. And that was once we realized that we still produce so much honey. And we're like, we really need to figure out something to do other than just sell it at like wholesale prices, which are very artificially low. Like Hawaii has a lot of honey coming in from the mainland, even though Hawaii produces so much amazing honey. And it keeps the price of honey low. And not that honey shouldn't be affordable, but it really is to the point where a lot of beekeepers sell their honey at close to a loss. And they really, like even beekeepers on the mainland US, like they don't really make their money off of honey. They make a lot of their money for the year for pollination services when they're beekeepers that do like almond pollination or watermelons or blueberries, all these crops that actually eat bees. They make a good part of their livelihood in pollination and not really in honey sales, because there's kind of a glut of honey that's, on store shelves everywhere.
But yeah, so we had serious conversations, and this was back when we were in the MBA program together, towards the tail end of, was it 2016?
Yeah.
2016. Yeah, we were kind of having some talks like, well, looking at value-added products of, what can we do with honey? And then we actually started kind of experimenting around that same time with making honey wine. And then started giving that away to friends and family.
You're very generous.
Yes.
So for reference, per household, per year, you can brew 200 gallons of alcohol to share with your family and friends.
Oh,
No wonder you're so happy all the time.
Oh. Is that why Erin keeps buying all that honey?
But yeah, so Big Island Meadery, we didn't know the name of, what this was going to turn into, but that whole mad science experiment began, and we were experimenting with different, seasons of honey that we were bringing in and then throwing in different local fruits. And some of them were really, really good. And we're like, well, nobody else is doing this. Like, let's keep going and see where this takes us. So yeah, that's kind of how Big Island Meadery got started, but it's been a long time in the works.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love what you've done, though. Okay, so I'm just going to go off script a little bit, because there's one
No
thing I
worries.
want to say is when we had the chance to go to your place and there was a sample platter of different honeys, and you give like bread and cheese. It was so good. And there's this one honey, and I can't remember, but it was made from an invasive plant.
Albizia, yes.
And it was
the
so
Albizia
good.
tree.
Right. So I mean, that's so creative that you folks thought of a way to help the ʻāina, basically by taking an invasive plant and repurposing it. Sorry, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Or like how that even came about?
So it's funny, but that honey, or that tree, Albizia tree, is a total menace. So it grows huge. It grows so much faster here than it does in its native range. And it looks like an African Serengeti tree because it is an African Serengeti tree. But with all the moisture we have here, they grow so much faster here than they do in their normal range. And per year, some years they will bloom like 4 times in succession. But some years less. But I want to say last year they bloomed 4 times. The year before that, they bloomed 3 times. And then we're on the first heavy bloom of it so far right now. It just started. So that's why we're extracting honey on Saturday. It was just to empty out space for our bees so that they could bring in that honey and have the space to be able to make a nice Albizia varietal. So even though that tree is such a menace, we really aren't a fan of it. It does make beautiful honey, and it absolutely is wonderful. And the bees absolutely love it.
Oh,
They actually increase their pollen intake. They produce their brood rearing. The colonies actually start growing, and this is what we call the beginning of our swarm season. Is when Albizia blooms. It kind of drives our bees absolutely wild. Their population skyrockets, and our apiary grows because of it.
Wow.
wow, that's great.
Okay, so I told Vanessa this story and she laughed. But, you know, as a kid, you just bought honey from the market and it was a little bear that said clover on it. So I just, like, as a kid, it never occurred to me that there were different types of honey. It was just clover honey because that's what was on the shelf at the store. And so, you know, it's just pretty ignorant, right? And then, you know, we see, you know, in the last 15, 20 years, you know, other local apiaries with different types of honey. I'm like, oh, you know, still not connecting that, you know, I'm here going, oh, they take that clover honey and they must add some lilikoi or something in it, right? It's not like occurring to me that the actual bee is going to the flower of that particular variety, right? I swear I had to be educated by Vanessa about how come she had all these different types of honey. So I was, oh, we have this macnut honey. Oh, because you add macnut. Well, you know, I don't know. No, it's because the bees are, you know, taking the pollen from the macnut tree. And I'm like this. Oh, so clover honey is from the clover? And then I just started laughing. And we had a good laugh about that. But that albizia honey, I hate the albizia tree.
Right.
Like Devin said, it's a menace. It overtakes. It's not good for anything. The wood is weak. You know, it's it's invasive tree that everyone's trying to get rid of. So when she said, "Oh, try this, the albizia honey," I was like, "I'm not gonna try that."
She was prejudiced against
I was
it.
like, "That is a bad tree. I don't want to try that honey." But I was like, "Oh, it was
so good.
It was really good."
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I know. I hate to admit it.
But you know what? Hey, you know, something good can come out of that, and bees are happy. So, do you like follow the bees? Is that how you know where they're going? Like, how do you, or
That was going to be my question. Like, how do you know which bees are getting which plant and bringing it back to their home? And how do you know?
Well, for years, we've actually been like using a calendar like every year, and we mark down like everything that's blooming throughout the year, what times the bloom started, how long the blooms lasted before they stopped. And another thing we've noticed is that all these different blooms have a very different smell when they're coming in as a nectar and when the bees have actually finished them and turned them into honey. So all the varietals are very distinct. Albizia smells like, Vanessa calls it like jungle funky because it does smell, when the nectar's coming in and the flower is blooming, it smells to me like kind of like marijuana or kind of like skunk. Like the whole apiary smells like that right now. It smells skunky in there. And when you open up a hive, you get that skunkiness, but that's just the fresh albizia nectar. That's the way it smells. But once the bees have actually cured it into honey, it's a very light, clean honey. It's not overpowering. It's got a very delicate floral note to it. It's a really good honey to add to a dish or to put on something if you don't want it to overpower what you're having. Versus macnut, which is amazing too, but that's a very heavy honey, has a stronger flavor. So just opposite ends, but it's funny, macadamia nut as well, like that honey when it comes in, it has like almost a wet dog aroma. When it's cured, it has like when it's fully finished, it almost has a night blooming jasmine aroma to it and has an intense, I want to say sometimes candy flavor to it, as well as dark cherry notes if it's been aged. Like there's a lot of complexity in that one, but it's vastly different from like as a cured, fully ripened honey from when it's a nectar and just coming in, and they all smell a little weird.
That's interesting.
But to answer the question, yes, we use a calendar. We kind of track when the major blooms are happening. And then like we were just doing this weekend, we go in and clear out everything prior to that bloom going off so that now that albizia is blooming, it'll be predominantly that. You know, we aren't scientifically sending these out every time we're bringing something in as, you know, labeling it as albizia, but it'll be predominantly that. And,
we can also curate based on aroma and flavor.
Yeah.
We've gotten pretty well versed on all the different aromatics and flavors that come out of our different honeys when different blooms are going off. So even though it may not be 100% one bloom, you can definitely tell if you have a very large influence of a certain floral source versus another.
And then if it's going to be a big mix, like, you know, during summertime, we will just call that 2 to 3 months of harvest summer blend.
And that'll be excellent, but we can't in good faith call it any one thing.
Yeah.
And so we really do just call it a blend because it is.
Do the bees all go together? Like, okay, albizia is blooming, but do they just all, you know, they're
Like a
colonies,
swarm?
so do they all just go together?
It's really cool to watch that. Like, to our south is where a lot of vacant just farmlands are, where the albizas are. So you can actually track, like if you're just sitting there kind of watching the, the apiary and where the bees are flying, a lot of them are kind of all taking that same path back and forth. And then they'll take a different route at a different time of year. But bees need to collect around 5 different pollen sources to have a good mix of amino acids and lipids and all the things that they get from pollen sources. So they need to collect a variety to feed both the baby bees and themselves. So that's why I kind of say things will be predominantly, like, let's say albizia. But you do need a variety to have a healthy gut microbiome. So,
And there are different bees that have different jobs.
That's true.
So like there will be nectar foragers that bring back nectar to make honey. And then there's also ones tasked with bringing in proper protein and amino acids. So they will be primarily foraging pollens. Not that nectar foragers don't bring back pollen. They do as well. But you're going to get the variety of pollen from the ones that are actually tasked with going to collect pollen and bring it back.
Wow.
They are so organized. They're like,
I feel so like, wow.
they're amazing. We could learn a lot.
Yeah. Like, do I get to change job if I'm a bee? No. Or are you like
yeah.
Depends on your age if you're a bee.
You progress through the job. So,
oh wow, that was a joke.
no, it's
These
real.
are just
There's
amazing.
there's like 5 different jobs that bees, as they age, they get tasked with. So the first one, it's the biggest hoot when I give presentations to schools. I say the first job that a baby bee has when they hatch is to turn around and clean their room. So if your mother has ever told you to clean your room, the bees are doing exactly that. So yes, so they start off as cleaner bees, and then as their wax glands progress, they start building the comb, and then they turn into nurse bees, and then guard bees, and then the last job for a bee is to forage. So those are actually the oldest ladies that are out there on the flowers, so just tell them that they're doing a good job once in a while.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you would think the opposite, that the little young ones would be out there getting the pollen and collecting
They
it
need to
and the
get
nectar.
experience
That's
first.
right. The wise wahine out there.
Interesting.
You're right, and I remember you telling Aaron and I that. So it's
The process.
the wahine bees that forage.
Yeah, actually, all the worker bees, the ones that are doing all of the jobs, are female bees. So, yeah,
What?
all of the
They're
jobs.
all mana wahine bees.
Yeah.
I love it.
What?
Okay, so then what do the guys
I know.
They take up space.
Yeah, Devin. What do you guys do?
Wow. Wow.
So how many hives do you have? And does
It fluctuates depending on the season. We run between 150 and 200. So right about now, we'll start ramping up numbers. And then during the winter season, we might...
We'll combine the weaker girls. We'll give the younger queen the majority of the worker bees from a colony that's like, if they're both slow, we'll combine them to maintain strength.
Yeah, still quite a few.
and how do you know the age of the bees, the queen?
Vanessa keeps that track.
What? Oh my
I
God.
love taking notes. But as far as the majority of the colony, all the worker bees, they only live 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So that's why the queen bee, I keep track of her age. But for the most part, she is just constantly laying eggs, repopulating their colony.
That's why the guys have that job.
They take care of
They
the
have to
queen.
take care of the queen.
Yeah, so very short lives, but yeah, it's pretty intense.
I am gonna look at a bee differently. The one that's taking nectar, or I'm gonna look and go, oh,
Right on.
kupuna.
That's right.
Because wow,
Right on, Tutu. Keep it
that's
going.
right. That's right.
So is the queen the only one that lays the eggs? She is.
Yeah, so
Ideally, yes.
she is the one egg layer in a colony. So she can lay up to 2,000 eggs per day during this time of year, spring to summer season. So yeah, it's a pretty tall task. So.
And they don't stop. If you ever catch a queen and like hold her while doing a hive inspection, you will find the little queen cage that she's sitting in will be full of eggs because she doesn't stop.
Oh, interesting.
She's like, let me get back to work.
She's like, I can't put the brakes on.
Wow.
So interesting.
Wow, that is interesting. That's a lot of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're still learning. It's always an educational process. We're not perfect. There are things that may go wrong, and we just have to kind of, reflect on what we could have done better. And, bees are insects, so we're relying on these little critters to create a product that we're also relying on for. It's pretty wild if you think about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you love most about your job?
I like creating new colonies of bees and watching them kind of flourish. They are likened to having their own personalities, and so there's something about raising a colony from a very small number to one that becomes full-fledged part of our large colony of our large apiary. But there's the educational side. There's the fact that, families come in and the kids already kind of know quite a bit about bees. It's pretty amazing what kids know these days. But
More than
then,
us.
so they start reciting things to me, and I'm like, that's right. And then we'll tell them a couple of new cool things, and their face just lights up. And I'm like, well, if you want to become a beekeeper, let us know. We're here for it. But yeah, I don't know. It's the joy. It's spreading that joy of beekeeping and raising awareness at the same time. And I don't know. It's kind of all wrapped into self-sustainability. There's all these things. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint.
I was going to say she just likes trying honey.
That's a big perk.
Every single attraction, she's always tasting everything like, this one's different. This one's different. She loves honey more than she admits.
But then there's sharing that too. Like, I love seeing people's expressions when they're trying the differences. There's different nuances, everything that, I don't know. It's just joyful to watch people experience what you love. It's, I don't know, hard to explain.
Yeah.
Well, what sparked your interest in agriculture? Because it's agriculture, right? So it's kind of starts there. What sparked that interest for you to start there and then move into all of this greatness that you're doing?
Well, I should just say I was practically born and raised here. I was born in Minnesota, but we moved out when I was 6 months. But my family has been in agriculture ever since we got here.
Before that.
And before that, my dad likes to say he's 7th generation farmer from Minnesota. But yeah, here it was a whole new playing field. We got into guava, coffee, ava, we dabbled in a bunch of things. We had crews of pickers and ginger. Yeah, we used to do ginger exports. So my family has just been in agriculture. I was raised in that. So it kind of naturally progressed. We have this beautiful land that we are on because my folks purchased it back in the day and created a business to export papayas. And so I've been in the midst of that for my entire life. So it's very natural to me. But when Devin and I got together and we thought about raising bees, had that run-in with those major pests. We started out as backyard beekeepers, but quickly progressed to using up some of the space from this family-owned property, and the numbers continued to grow.
Beautiful.
So
Bees can take over your life if you let them.
yes,
There's so many. You can't just have one hive.
Yeah, you should always have at least two.
oh yes. So that's kind of how that got started. But bees are kind of a natural progression of agriculture. They are a part of it. They're essential.
Sounds
So
like it. Important.
Yeah.
Important part of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
very much.
Tell us about the just because we're still on that topic of increasing bee population and the importance of it. Tell us about your work with legislation on Hawaii Island.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that has been in the works since 2018. Our group, the Big Island Beekeepers Association, which we've been volunteering for, I don't even know how many years, but
Since we started beekeeping.
yeah, I guess we found them, and that kind of led to me raising my hand one day and offering to be secretary. But that's been integral part of our lives. And so this bee legislation came about way back when we were just talking story with all of the beekeepers, and somebody had complained that one of their neighbors called vector control because his bees were in his yard or harassing him or something. He had a grudge against the neighbor with the bees.
He had a malicious neighbor.
So then we kind of started looking into the rules, like, you kind of think like, what can we do about this? So if you look in the county state codes, beekeeping is thrown in with pets in one chapter, with livestock in another.
Oh, wow.
When approaching them about these bits and pieces that were strewn about, they had no idea when they had come about.
It's from the 80s.
Yeah, and then it kind of got chopped up. So when you look for beekeeping, you just get run around in circles. There's nothing helpful for anybody trying to start beekeeping. And there's also some really harsh restrictions currently. If you can't have hives within 1,000 foot of a major roadway, but that term is not defined. It's very ambiguous. So
a dirt road could be a major roadway,
Right.
and you'd have to move your bees. Even large queen producers like Kona queens, they were 60 feet short. They were in agricultural area, but they were 60 feet short of 1,000, and they were forced to move their entire operation, which is a multi-million giant operation.
Oh my
and they had
gosh.
to move it
60
because they had a grumpy neighbor.
yeah, so we kind of pulled together. We thought, hey, we should really look at this, because there's people that want to start beekeeping, but they have no idea where to start. The rules are very unclear.
And
So
nobody has enough land to be 1,000 feet away from
it's
any
insane.
road.
That's a
what I
good
was just
point.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Gosh.
yeah. So then we approached a couple of county counselors, and Ashley Kirkwitz was a major proponent since day one. And we sat down with her and other stakeholders, Department of Health, Department of Ag, Planning Department, all levels of beekeepers, to kind of hash out what would be a fair and balanced bee ordinance that everybody would be happy with. So yeah, and then unfortunately COVID hit, so things kind of got put on the back burner. But just recently, finally, the bee ordinance was introduced as a full-on written document. And then a couple weeks ago, I gave a presentation to both the Leeward and Windward Planning Commissions.
Wow.
And it was very, very well received. There were no no's. Everybody was very supportive. So yeah, now back to county council. I know it's been so long. It's wild to think that we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but It's well written. It gives best management practices. It pulls bees out of zones so that it's kind of free of zone. People can have bees wherever. There's some rules that are much easier to follow. It gives guidelines on all sorts of things. So it's so nice to see this coming to light. So
That
Yeah.
deserves some applause.
Congratulations.
Woo!
Thank you.
Vanessa and Devin,
Wow.
terrific. Great work.
Yeah, you have to be tenacious, you know, to continue, you know?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Wow, what a great journey. Yeah.
It's been quite a roller coaster, but we keep going.
Well, through your business, you share so much aloha with your community, like Amy had said in the beginning, with the schools. So what does aloha mean to you?
We were kind of talking about this because I feel like aloha can mean many things in general terms, and then it can be kind of industry specific. So I feel like working or existing harmoniously or almost like symbiotically, giving more than you take in terms of nature or environment, understanding your role in preserving for others to enjoy later. So as beekeepers, we've kind of learned over the years what our bees need. We've watched those seasonal shifts, the fluctuation in their health, and when to step in to help either create more colonies or ensure that we sustain our current colonies. It's just a symbiotic feeling of giving more than you take. And then, of course, our products, I think we can say, are created with aloha. We're trying to create something from the land, something that exhibits sustainability and that same harmony. It also, if you think about it in, business terms, it's a product that doesn't really cause a large disruption in commerce. At its basic, it's honey, water, and yeast. So the majority, if not all of it, can be 100% locally produced. And then all the local fruits and spices that we add, like it's a product from the land. So we're pretty proud of that fact. And I really think that people appreciate, just how raw, I guess, it is in its representation. So,
And also our space.
yeah.
Like we've created a space here for community events. We're family friendly. We're pet friendly. People come here all the time, just looking for they don't want to go to a bar. They're not out they're actually looking to interact. And so many people we have come in, they're just curious about mead. They're curious about honey. And most of what we do is just great conversation with people that come through our door. And I think people are falling in love with that. They're seeing the woodwork we have around the meadery. And it's just woodwork we did. We were not woodworkers before starting this place, but we had time. And so we jumped on creating everything. Our tasting trays, our shelving, our doors are made out of that menace tree. Chopped it all. Put it to good use. Our bar top, we pulled right out of the jungle behind us. Vanessa and her dad pulled it out. There's a lot of aloha we put into this place, and it's become a space where people just want to come and be together, have events here. Vanessa's really good about trying to bring in food trucks and local businesses, and we don't charge to have them here. We give them a space to showcase what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It's good for us. It's good for, our patrons. It's good for them because they don't have to pay to be somewhere. They can just come and do what they're good at, and we do what we're good at.
Yeah.
As well as we have games for people too, like card games, and people just seem to come together here, and we're happy to see that happening. It just feels so warm and so real.
Nice. You're creating community within your own area.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
And you're giving them an experience with the tasting, but then also the education too, when you share with them about the bees and your process. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. A lot of it is sharing and creating that excitement and Yeah, so people have been taking very kindly to that, and we're very thankful that people keep coming back. So there must be something that
It's nice that people appreciate what we do.
Absolutely. I think anyone who's lucky enough to visit Big Island Meadery, when you walk in, you do feel the aloha, you feel the warmth, you feel it's a cozy place. Devin, your artwork with the wood is phenomenal. I love the bar top. And then also when you go there, there's facts. There's fun facts about bees. You know, it was like you get an education without even really realizing, and you're having fun, and you're doing the honey tasting, and you got a little honey mead, and you're feeling good, and it's a very, I have to say, I don't know how you folks created this, but you did create a very warm, loving, giving space, and so kudos to both of you for doing that, and I hope
you.
as many people get a chance to experience it because it's great. It's a wonderful space. So.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you answered our next question about the motivation you have to keep doing what you do. I think I see your media posts and all the different partners that you have around your community that come and bring their business to your place. And people get to enjoy your products. They get to enjoy art or music or crafts or lei making or I'm like, wow, yoga. I mean, you know.
Zumba now too.
Oh, wow, Zumba. You know, it's like, wow, there's all these partners that you have. And then, to me, it's so Hawaii, right? Word of mouth grows. People come. They say, hey, do you have space? And it's wonderful, and all the restaurateurs that you support to bring their business to your place. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Hawaii's it's a small town feel. The network that you build is so valuable, and so we're just happy to share our space and let people just enjoy all of it because it's a very nice sense of community. So we're excited.
We can definitely see how, both of you are inspired by Aloha in the work that you do. Who inspires both of you to keep going and to give your best?
Oh, well, I just put my hat down for all of the hardworking farmers, those that provide all of the food that people may not realize comes from the land. It's their hard work, and I don't think they get the credit that they deserve. Growing up in agriculture, surrounded by farmers, whether they were ginger farmers or avocado farmers, papaya farmers, the amount of hours that they put into their craft is amazing. I don't know that I could do that, but here we are beekeeping. So it's in its own right, it's very fulfilling, but I know that, our ecosystem would just not go round if we just didn't have our farmers. But the local businesses, the mom and pop shops they've got this dream and they want to share it. Like, that's very inspiring. I feel like that's kind of our humble beginnings as well. So, just watching those pushing and, continuously working towards goals in whatever it is that they are doing. So, it's just that energy that you feel when you're talking to an entrepreneur or somebody doing something that, I don't know, it just creates a buzz in the room that we all feed off of. So
it's infectious and excitement.
Yes.
And to be a part of each other's lives, I think that's so great.
However we can help each other, for sure.
That's great.
So yes, please share a story with us of how your acts of aloha have inspired others to pay it forward.
Well, I feel like we're kind of changing the narrative in terms of how people view bees and the product, the mead, the honey wine that we're making. We kind of give the the origins of mead and a little bit about bees, but I think we make things approachable for people, that they leave here feeling like, hey, you know, I was thinking about raising bees. Sounds like there's a great community. You know, I'm not so afraid to jump into it. And then as far as the mead side of things, we're kind of providing this craft that was kind of long forgotten in a new kind of light, locally based, local products, local fruits and spices, local honey. So it's sharing this approachable thing that it's going to be an educational, you know, quite a process of educating the public, but that's what we're here for. People leave very, very thrilled to have found us about both beekeeping, mead making, what even the heck that is, you know. It's something that can be very special to Hawaii, and I think we're trying to encapsulate that essence when we share it to those that are visiting the islands, to those that live here. So yeah, I think we're creating quite a buzz.
Yeah. Oh, that was so cute.
Well, you know, so I had my students. There's this beverage section of a course, and they research all these local Hawaii-based beverage companies. Mm-hmm. And so your company is one that I have listed, and I have the Manoa Honey and Mead Company listed. And the students are intrigued because mead is an ancient wine, and the students, you know, they're like, oh, I thought wine was just from grapes. I'm like, I'm like, well, in Hawaii we don't have the grapes, so you gotta figure out ways to do you know, wine differently. And when you do research about mead, gosh, that goes like so far back, like generation. Yeah, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Mead was before beer. Mead was before wine. Mead was our first alcohol.
Yeah.
Everything else is trying to copy mead in a more affordable fermentable source.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's interesting.
I think of like the warriors, the Nordic warriors.
Yeah,
with
they're
their
going to
mead.
have mead. Meadery. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they said. Sorry, that was a horrible. That was terrible.
That's what I envisioned.
That was terrible. So, as entrepreneurs and trailblazers in your pursuits, what advice do you have for someone out there who maybe has a passion for something, but they're kind of, I don't know if I should do it. I don't know if I can. Like, what advice do you have?
Ooh, well, getting launched will seem like you are rolling a 2-ton ball uphill on the daily.
That's scary. I know.
It will feel like the list is never ending. But there really is no clear-cut path to success. You kind of have to be okay with riding a roller coaster of the doubts, the setbacks, the wins, the losses, the high points. And then...
And time.
Yeah.
You can't rush things. You have to do it right. Vanessa put in our paperwork in 2018, and we didn't actually get up and rolling until October of 2023. So it takes as long as it takes.
Yeah.
And just be prepared to always be learning. You have to kind of learn to thrive outside of your comfort zone. Take every situation as a teaching moment.
Oh, that's good.
And then also celebrate the wins as they come. It's going to be a journey, but it is very fulfilling. I mean, it still is very surreal to us. Like,
it's really weird. I feel like there's a certain amount of imposter syndrome doing this, because I feel like we're still amateur mead makers, and we get nothing but compliments from everybody that tries our honeys and everybody that tries our meads. And I'm just excited that everybody still likes it. I mean, we're doing this professionally, but I still feel like an amateur.
That's great, right? Because
we're always trying to do better.
Always trying to do better. That's awesome.
So, do you guys get stung by bees?
I got stung twice today.
You got stung twice?
Just today, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain like sixth sense that you'll pick up as you put in your years inspecting colonies. You'll know when they're a little bit aggravated.
They give you a warning.
So you can kind of pick up on those hints, but yeah, unfortunately, you might lean against something or pick one up in the handheld of something or squish somebody. So it's inevitable. Thankfully, our reactions are very minor.
Mosquito bites are worse.
Or fire ants. Oh my God. Don't even get started on fire ants. But yeah, so it's part of the job.
It's worth it, huh?
Yes.
I guess you do develop that sixth sense, like, oh, they look pissed off.
Yep.
I'll come back later.
Right? You can hear a tonal change. If you're working the colony, there's like a happy hum of them going about their day, doing their thing. And one big thing that does it is when the weather changes. Mm-hmm. So you can feel like a drop in barometric pressure, a drop in temperature, or when a cloud comes overhead and it just suddenly feels a little cooler, the bees feel that too, and they feel it first. So typically they get that like 5 to 10 minutes before we feel a change in the weather.
Wow.
They know, and you can hear the change in their tone, and they're telling you it's time to wrap it up because they're done for the day. And if you don't listen, they're going to get more aggressive and they're going to give you some warning shots, if not actual stings. But most of the time when we take those warnings and we close down, put everything back together and shut the hive, sure enough, it starts raining a couple minutes later, and they just didn't want their colony to be open to the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So smart,
Smart.
right?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna,
I love bees.
I'm gonna talk to them now when I see them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say hello, Tutu. How are you?
I am what a great respect, and I love the fact that you folks are so in tune with it, right? I mean, like, what a great way to just be in tune with the ʻāina and nature and everything around. That's beautiful.
Well, that connection, right? It's not like this. It's like this is your ohana, your bee ohana. Like you're not just like all of your stories. You're not just treating them as a commercial enterprise,
Right.
Yeah.
commercial enterprise.
There's so much respect,
right?
there.
You have all this care
Yeah.
for your colonies, and I wow, if I were a bee, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'd be like, let's go and live at Kilohana
Yeah,
Farms,
let's go over
man.
there.
Let's
Like,
go
over
make them
here, the
some
guy is
mead.
mean, you know? Yeah, or the neighbor always yelling at me, you know? I'm gonna go to.
Do you have that though? Do you have bees that leave a hive and then come over to yours? Does that happen?
Yeah, so as a responsible beekeeper, you want to kind of have swarm traps out in case one of your own colonies swarms. You put in a little bit of a scent lure so that when they are looking for a new location, there's a high chance that they will congregate in that vessel that you put out there. But we are in a pretty heavy bee populated area, so we have caught swarms that have moved through.
Lots of times.
Yeah.
Occasionally ours, but Vanessa's pretty good about splitting our bees in time so we don't lose them. But there's also other beekeepers that their hive or their colonies will swarm past us, and that'll typically have one of their older queens and 10,000 workers with. And so when we see those or get a call from those, we will try and just gently capture them and then rehome them in one of our boxes. And if we don't have an empty box, we try and always have like spare materials on hand to be able to have another ready to go box just in storage.
Or in my car. I've got so many things rolling around in the back of my car in case of an emergency swarm call.
And we've
Always ready.
Oh my gosh. That's a
Wow.
loving beekeeper.
That is.
It's like, got it in my car. Ready to
is.
go.
I got something in my trunk. Yeah, that's awesome.
So what is next for Kilohana Farms and Big Island Meadery? And for you, Vanessa and Devin, what's next for you folks? Where do you go from here?
Oh boy, well, people always want more. They want more flavors of mead. They want us to expand, start shipping, be in stores. So we've been slowly kind of expanding in terms of now we're in a couple of local restaurants. We did a couple of dinner pairings with our mead. So we're getting it out there, but I think we're really enjoying ourselves and hosting those community events, sharing what mead is, getting the word out there. just building a strong base, and our local ʻāina. For those that have been supporting us since October when we started in 2023 and much, much earlier, I don't know, we're kind of relishing in this space right now. It's nice. There's always more to do, but
we don't feel the need to really rush to become huge. We really want to focus on being a place for our local market to be able to come and have something to do. If they're not a fan of beer or wine, we are another option.
Nice.
And a lot of people are finding that they really enjoy mead as an option, and they never knew it was an option.
Right.
So I think we're continually educating people on what mead is, what mead was, what mead can be, and our iterations of mead the way we enjoy it.
Yeah. Wow. Is it still the two of you? Just the two of you?
We did bring on a part-timer recently. She did take the week off for visiting family. So it was us this past week running around with our heads cut off. But it was...
We've realized we do need extra.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, especially in seasons, right?
Oh,
when you're
yeah.
super
Oh,
busy.
yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Because how awesome for like a young person or someone interested in learning more to be able to learn from you folks.
To learn from you folks. Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
so
Yeah.
much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am so afraid of these things. I don't know if I could be your little helper, but I will buy your honey and your milk. Yeah.
Well, I had seen a quote online. Someone had a picture of it, and it said, did you ever think of when a bee is landing on you that she might have mistaken you for a flower?
Oh, that's so sweet.
So sweet.
That's so
Right.
sweet.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna look at bees differently because I too am afraid of getting stung.
But you're right. Sometimes they do land on me.
maybe we're flowers and they just want to share their love.
Yeah,
Right.
that's cute.
And it's the mana wahine, right?
That's
Because they're the ones that are
right.
going out there.
That's
So
right.
they,
So what wisdom can you share with us about perpetuating aloha?
Well, I feel like as a business owner and somebody juggling so many things, that I've just really realized that you need to live with compassion. Everybody is carrying something, busy with something. So I feel like we just need to keep space for each other. And yeah, so always try to give what you can, share what you can, but
And having patience with everyone.
yeah. But also in terms of just the network of small mom and pop businesses here in Hawaii, kind of coming from that side of things and turning people into fans, it kind of should be this, if you see this name on the map, don't be afraid to stop in to that little mom and pop business. They could be crafting something that they're very proud of that you had no idea was even possible, or it's not available at Target or Home Depot. So just keep an eye out in your local community and see what people are up to these days, because there's a lot of cool things in every industry, and we meet a bunch of cool people, like in the our bakery neighbors just got a new gelato machine, and so we're just like eyes opened into what they're crafting, and
Crafters and makers.
yeah.
They're all around us. We all need to make the effort to visit and see what they're doing, because we're one of those places that people are finding continually, and we keep finding places that are doing the same in their fields, and we would have never known until going through their doors. And that's the hard part, is going through their doors and then finding out that you absolutely love what they do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Don't just support local, explore local.
Oh, I like
just
that.
like go
Oh, I
explore
love
it
that.
and check it
I
out.
love
I
that.
love that.
Yes.
Explore. That's so awesome. Oh, that's so awesome.
good.
So if someone wanted to learn more about you and your company, your organization, and your events, how can they find out more about you?
Well, they can do a quick Google search. I think we will pop up if you put in honey, mead, Hawaii, Big Island. But our website is www.bigislandmeadery, meadery.com. We have our Instagram, Big Island Meadery, our Facebook page. I'm constantly trying to update all the schedule of events. And then if people are interested in beekeeping or learning more about bees, we do have a page on our website about bees in general, but the Big Island Beekeepers Association that we volunteer with is a great wealth of knowledge. BigIslandBeekeepersAssociation.com, and they have monthly meetings. We do it on Zoom as well as in person, but it's a great way to network with beekeepers of all levels. So
We even have a beekeeper that tunes in every single month from New York.
yeah,
And it's like 2:00 in the morning his time.
Wow,
But
cool.
he's always there, and if he's not there, we get worried because he's been done forever.
Wow,
yes.
that's awesome.
Wonderful.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, before we end, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
I would say, well, we did launch our local tap club. So speaking of expanding,
We need to go to Big Island.
Okay.
yes. So for those that are on our island, on the Big Island, we finally etched some beautiful glass growlers for those that want access to our specialty flavors. We have a Lihing Mui pineapple mead that everybody's been going insane for. So we were only selling it off tap, but now we finally have a growler that people can take home. Everybody's been really excited. So there's a handful of flavors that we have that we're selling that way. But yeah, no, it's keep striving for your dreams, and we'd love to talk story with anybody that comes through our doors and talk about bees and mead and anything in between.
Wonderful. Can people order your products online?
They can order all of our honey and merch. Currently, the honey wine is only for sale through our retail space here on island, but we will see once we start expanding and shipping mead out, but it'll come in time.
Yeah.
Not yet.
They make great gifts for the holidays.
Yes.
Or just gifts anytime. So excellent. Just love, you folks are top quality people. You give top quality products, and you're doing a lot for our ʻāina. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
great.
Thank
Well,
you for the opportunity.
Yeah, aw, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. It's to see your dream come to fruition and continue to grow, beyond what you initially intended to do. And so it's exciting. It's exciting. And thank you for always keeping in touch. And
Of course, thank you. Thanks for enjoying our honey products,
do.
ladies.
It's
We appreciate that.
and thanks for changing my mindset about albizia.
Oh, yes.
No.
Anytime.
But Vanessa and Devin, thank you so much for being here with us. And thank you, listeners, for being with us on Inspired by Aloha.
Yep. Bees are life.
Bees
Take
are
care.
life, yes. Ahui ho.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you.